screen mode, but I'll see what we can do. Anyway, welcome back. Welcome back. This stuff on the screen has nothing to do, but I thought it was a cool illusion, so I thought I would show it to you guys. Kind of cool for fun. Here's another one. This is one of my favorites. This is this guy, Akiyoshi Kataoka. I don't know. Write down that name. It's pretty cool. All of those are perfectly straight lines, even though they don't look it. Here, wait, I'll change the screens. Oh, everything is going crazy. Lights. There we go. Off. Boom. Look at those lines here. I'll prove that they're straight by going forward one. Those red boxes are perfect boxes, of course, but you can see there that the lines are all straight. Ooh, they look pretty weird, though, don't they? Has nothing to do with consumer psychology, but I thought it was kind of fun. Anyway, so a quick, go back to this. All right, so quick update, housekeeping. We have a lot to do. As you probably know, last time we didn't quite get through. Which way did we decide was better? People wanted darker or lighter? I forget what the vote was. Mostly people wanted dark, so they could sleep. But anyway, business students have your discussion section starting in about 2 weeks from Thursday. Is that true? A week Thursday. So be sure to get up there and read. Just to be clear, the business school students are doing the same discussion section readings. You just won't be doing the final batch. So you only do 3 discussion sections, not 4. Sona, there's already stuff up there. There's more. Rob, are you here, Rob? Rob? No, Rob's not here. Anyway, Rob has a bunch of experiments up there. Check it out. Some people have written to me asking about these CAP approved. You should go into Sona. It's easy. If you don't have an ID or a login, email me. Go into Sona, look for the CAP approved studies and do those. There may not be many. There may not be any right now, but there will be more in this semester. I can't guarantee that there'll be all of them, next week, but sometime over the semester there'll be hundreds of them appearing. But don't wait till the end because there may not be any later. Anyway, discussion sections, be sure to read. The first discussion section went brilliantly, I think. Yeah, brilliantly. The TAs all raved about all the good ideas, innovative ideas, blah, blah, blah. Quite impressed at the skills of these students out there to work in groups and put together presentations. Anyway, so it was all good. Raise your hand if you went yesterday. Painless, mostly, somewhat. Yeah, fun even. Some say fun. I'll pop around occasionally to hear what you people are saying. I'll try not to be too scary. Movie making, so one of the optional assignments for this module, as you probably remember or have seen, is that you can make a movie of some kind of a little movie. And there's some advice up on Blackboard about how to use various software tools to make that movie. It's a good opportunity to do something educational and useful because, learning how to make movies nowadays is really kind of essential no matter where you're going. So it's a good skill to get. I think it's something that you'll find relevant if you put it up on YouTube, and if it's good, you could in theory aim future employers. You could say, hey, here's an example of my quality work. So think of it as something that you're doing not just for a class, but also it will be around. I mean, those assignments have gotten numerous students over the years jobs. They aim people at it and say, hey, check this out. And people say, oh, that is interesting. Come talk to us. Anyway, so it might work in your... Any questions about anything before I move on? Because as you might remember, last time I didn't quite finish. So we have a lot to do, even more than... So I'm going to finish chapter 2. Oops, because I didn't get through it last time. And then quickly, 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are not all that dense, so I think we'll be able to make it. Raise your hand if you have the book. Raise your hand if you're still trying to find the book but have been unable to find the book. I've been trying too. I've written to the publishers. They claim they're going to do something in the library. Does Muse exist? Raise your hand if it exists. Oh, yes, ma'am.
No, it shut down.
It has shut down. Oh, no wonder they never replied. Yes, sir.
The ISBN on your online on Blackboard is wrong for the international version.
Ooh, I've given...
ISBN is the international version, which you can get on Amazon.
I've given the wrong ISBN. If you get the right... Are you sure?
Absolutely.
Absolutely sure. I've screwed up again. But it's weird because it's like the 5th, 6th year in a row I've had that ISBN. No one's ever pointed it out before. Bonus points. Get his name. Give him bonus points. Okay, so yeah, apparently if you just Google search for the Blackwell, Miniard, Ingle, it's the right title.
It has to be international version.
Well, it doesn't have to be, but that's the one we recommend. Is there...
You can't get the...
okay. Yeah, you can't get the American, so by default it has to be international. So look for that, and it's findable. It's a bit expensive. £40, is that right? 32. Where?
On Amazon.
Amazon. Used or new?
It was pretty new.
Pretty new. All right. Okay, so yeah, apparently it's available. Find it, read it, etc. So, as you might remember, last time we went frantically through Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Chapter 1 was sort of an overview of what is consumer psychology, what is consumer behavior, as a quick recap. I like to do these little reminders. So basically, anytime people are obtaining, consuming, or divesting themselves of stuff, that is consumer behavior, right? The behavior of consumption. And there are lots of factors that might influence that, some like social, personal, environmental, all that. All of that stuff is the study of consumer behavior, and consumer psychology is sort of the psychological processes, if you will, that underlie all of that behavior. And we talked a bit about the evolution of consumer behavior, how it's gone from sort of manufacturer-controlled worlds where they dictate all the rules and they put products out and you will buy or you will die, or you will buy or you will not buy, all the way up to nowadays where consumers have all the power. In some sense, you can see the evolution of consumer behavior and the importance of consumer psychology all along this timeline. So over here, consumer psychology, no one knew what it was. Who cares what they think? They'll buy my product. All the way down to here with, we must understand the consumer. So that's where we are. Here is marketing, kind of economic analysis, marketing, kind of basics of marketing, sales, and all that. Here is all about understanding the psychology. That's a recap. That was all of part 1, was about that. Part 2 last time was all about marketing strategy, a decisive allocation of resources in some way to maximize blah, blah, blah. We talked about that. And we talked about all these different stages. And we made it through most of them. Let's see, I think I have. So first you have to analyze your market, understand like what's out there, trends, factors, and all that, environmental. Then you have to segment, very important concept. One of the ones I can guarantee it'll come up on the midterm and the final, segmentation. What's it all about? Lots of different ways of segmenting. So I could segment the room by those who sit on the left or those on the right, those who sit in the front, those who are male, female, young, old, business, psych, masters. We have some master's students this time. Yay, master's students, yay, at the back. Anyway, we could segment or we could segment. Those are basic kind of demographic segmentations, age, etc. You could also segment by interests. People who like to go outdoors on the weekend. People who like to see movies, whatever it is. Or you could do psychological. People who are more motivated by personal, socio-demographic, blah, blah, blah kind of stuff. So lots of different ways to slice and dice. The main goal of segmentation is to kind of create groups where the people within a group are more similar to each other than people outside the group, and ideally that those groups are quite different. So if you can do a good segmentation, you can then create new products, for instance, for different segments, or you can create new ad campaigns that will be more motivationally relevant to the different segments, stuff like that. Does that make sense? Segmentation is important. Any questions about those first 2 steps? No? So then we got to marketing mix, and it's all about developing a product and a brand and a price and a place and promotion. And we got through the first couple of those. Product. Just to remind you, the product is not what you might think of it. This is not the product. The product is actually the total bundle of utilities, all the goodnesses, all the benefits that I get from this. So some of that will be the physicality of it, it's a thing, but it's also the fact that I can drink coffee, it'll maintain heat, it looks cool and sleek, things like that. All of those are part of the product itself. So it's the total bundle of goodness or utilities. Sorry. And then we talked about place, where you buy the product and how that's really an important thing. It's not so much like necessarily the shop, but it's also the psychological perception that, oh God, I don't want to go all the way to the high street. So that place is actually farther away than Amazon, the evil overlords who own everything. Even though they are physically farther, psychologically they're closer. We talked briefly about that. Lemons, you can buy lemons in the fish counter more often than you can in the vegetable counter. And then we talk about price as, again, just like it's not the product, this is not the product, and the price is not the cash. The product is the benefits, and the price is all the disutilities, all the negatives that you have to give up to sort of acquire that, right? And it's kind of cool because that brings it all into the psychological domain, right? It's not about products and cash. It's about the perceived benefits and the perceived costs. Boop. Any questions about that? No? Whoa. Then we talked about pricing. How can you price? We'll talk more about that in future lectures, but there's lots of different options. At any time, there's 500,000, 5,000, buy one, get one free, 2 for the price of 1, 3 for the price of 7, all those. Is it 5,500 million? Anyway, there's a lot of offers at any moment in any ASDA, and there's lots of different options of how to price things, and we may at some future lecture have a guest on this. We'll see. Anyway, price is an interesting question in terms of how to do it. I don't know what Honda Dude is there for, but he was. Promotion is another part of sort of the marketing. This bottom stage in the market mix, bottom stage of the market strategy is the market mix. In terms of how to promote products, I won't say much. We saw this ad last time, the Canal Plus, the guy who was a clever ad trying to promote Canal Plus to people who wouldn't typically watch ads. They wouldn't So it's an ad that is quite engaging, targeted at a different segment than most Canal Plus ads would target. And then we finally got to brand, and this is where I took a frantic rush and gave up. Brand is basically, we're going to spend this whole lectures later on brand, but anyway, it's a whole bunch of different things. Part of it will be the recognizable logo, things like that, but there's also sort of things like the brand personality, the brand promise. Ooh, I don't know what happened to my bullet points, but anyway, functional elements, all these different aspects of a brand. And I just have a little example. Oh, no, I don't. Oh, in a second, I have an example of a nice brandy advert. But some of the important aspects of a brand are sort of functional elements in terms of how it performs. So you'd expect a certain level of performance from a BMW that you might not from a Kia. Kia? Mazda? Kia? Raise your hand if Kias are good cars. Quick market research. No one. Raise your hand if Mazdas are good cars. No one. BMWs? Oh, come on. No voting on cars. Okay. Okay. We're doing some car research now. Anyway, emotional elements, different aspects of a brand. So the brand's image, sort of the prestige associated with it. Personality. Is the brand someone you'd like to chat with? Is it a friendly, kind of affable, fat, jolly old guy? Or is it a young hipster or something or other? Different aspects of sort of the brand personality, the style, the evoked feelings, all of those are sort of part of the brands. And like I said, almost in every lecture, in my perception, the way I think about the world, a brand is really a mental representation of a set of attributes, of a set of products. How's that for abstraction? So, it's not about the BMW car or the BMW logo or the BMW ads or any of that kind of stuff, or the experience of driving a BMW or any of those things. It's all sort of the mental representations of all of those things abstracted away. It sounds vague and useless, but it's actually very specific and useful. And we'll talk more about that in the future. It's kind of anything that the company, or even not the company, but your friends, anyone, does or says about the brand will build up in your head a set of associations. And it's all those associations that together are the brand that is the car. So technically, the brand is in your head. You own the brand. And we'll get back to that. Some examples of green brands. This is a hot area nowadays. And this, I think, is where I ended last time. I was talking about green brands. It's one of the things that all brands are trying to do is to get a little mental association that not only are we a great toothpaste or car, whatever we are, we're wonderful at all those things, but we're also green. Green, pro-environmental, sustainable, lovely, helping the earth, all those kinds of things. Many of them do it either implicitly or explicitly, and it's getting kind of annoying, but it's kind of interesting. It's a hot area. Greenest brands in each different country. So Body Shop, M&S, they lead the way here in the UK. Waitrose, Tesco, Eon, Edith. Anyone's up there that seem odd to you guys, or are you happy? Raise your hand if you mostly agree. Mostly agree. Disagree? Any that stand out? Oh, yes, sir.
What Eon and EDF are both power companies.
Evil.
Both use like coal stations and things, so
Yeah.
it's weird that
I agree. It is odd. I don't know what this is all about. I'm not sure if it's the perceptions of or kind of, economic analysis, viability analysis of. But anyway, I find those two odd as well. Waitrose, of course, is always up there. Body Shop is too. But those are too easy. All right. So, green brands. Here's a little ad. I always like to have a couple ads. See what you think of this. Good ad, bad ad. What's it about? What's it doing? Oh, I should also mention, of course, this is the first moment I've mentioned it. The Cannes Grand Prix. So I'll have lots of ads from this. It's the annual World Advertising Film Festival in France. Every summer they have a big film festival advertisement festival, and they have the best, the gold, Prix de Gold. Anyway, this is one that won, I don't know what this one won. Gudgeon, check it out for me. See if you can find it. Someone, anyway. Yeah. So this is one of the winners. See if you think it works. Ready, go. Absolute silence. Hold on, don't move. No, don't, stop. Let me try that again. I can't have the ads not have sound. Oh, that's better. All right, no, don't move. No one leave, don't go anywhere. Here we go. We'll blast the speakers. Start it again. And go.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and bright. And I pity any girl with a need tonight. I feel charming, oh so charming. It's alarming how charming I feel.
I'm so pretty. And I hardly ever be unreal.
See that pretty girl and love me with
Such a pretty face.
such a pretty dress, such a pretty smile, such a pretty name.
I feel pretty.
Oh, so pretty. I feel pretty and witty.
Right.
And then pity.
Pretty cool, pretty cool. I feel pretty. It's a good ad, eh? I don't know if it's a good ad. Now, what do you guys think? Good ad, bad ad? Raise your hand if you think it's a good ad. Yeah, pretty good ad. Bad ad? Anyone? No? Interesting. Any thoughts on what they did well or poorly, or what the hell they were trying to do there altogether anyway? What was it all about? What was it all about? Thoughts? No. Is that hands? No, no hands. It scared you, the ad, eh? Too much. Just too much. Or is it? Oh, yes, ma'am.
I didn't like it. Really cheap, but I didn't understand it. Like, I don't get what it's got to do with sports. Is it like, it makes it feel pretty, or is it just that everyone else is going, oh, you're beautiful, she's going to screw you up?
Yeah.
I didn't get it, so I don't.
I think it's more the screw you message. Screw you, vote yes. Screw you, yeah. Screw you, yeah. Everyone agrees, screw you. So yeah, the brand is all about screw you, just do it, etc., etc. So I mean, it kind of works, but you're right, it is weird, because 95% of the ad is about pretty or not pretty or jealous pretty, something like that. But yeah, I guess, any thoughts on why it works well or doesn't work well, or why it should or shouldn't have won the con? Did it win the con? Yeah, I think it. Oh, yes, ma'am.
I think you've got to understand that Nike's slogan is just do it. If you've seen it for the first time, you don't have any idea what it's advertising.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. It is in a sense, it does require you to have some awareness of what they're all about and what their brand is, to understand that it kind of is part of a whole long campaign that they've been up to. Yeah, I think it does a pretty good job of kind of building her up and building up the kind of set and scene, building expectations and curiosity. So from an engagement, we've talked a bit in the past about how one of the things that ads must do is grab attention. So it kind of is interesting in that sense. It starts off, grabs attention, carries on with engagement throughout, attention, engagement. I don't know about memory, gets lost a little bit. I think anytime I've seen, for me, one of the tests, I have a horrible memory, by the way. I don't remember anything. Ask anyone, right? Bad memory? See. Bad memory. But every time I see this ad, I remember what it's for. So many ads I don't remember. I have to watch the first few seconds till I remember. This one somehow does work. So they do a pretty good job, at least in the James case, of linking the brands to the ad. So they've done a pretty good job, even though oddly they don't have much of the brand present. I mean, it's almost in every scene, it is present. The logo is somewhere. So it's either on her shirt or in the background. They do have a lot of the ad of the brand's logo present, but it's not explicitly linked until the last second. So it's all about brand, this one. Has nothing to do with brand. Should be an in-class discussion, but given the lateness of the hour, I don't think we'll do much in-class discussion. But I will. Oh, yes, sir.
It's quite a bit of glare.
Bit of glare. Oh, my goodness. Sorry about that. Glare. Ah, that's better. Thank you. Thank you. That's much nicer. So, in-class discussion. Is it human nature to have brands? Why or why not? Anyone want to volunteer that? Is it human nature? Any thoughts on that, briefly? Yes, sir.
We really already brand people by just nationality, race.
Yeah, that's true.
In evolution terms, that we've got this
Ooh.
already.
Yeah, that is a good point. We tend to brand people at first sight, even if you will, by race, nationality, hair color, eye color. Why not brand? Maybe it is that. I agree. Any other? Yes, sir.
Humans already compete for resources massively, so it's kind of extending it, but consider like clothes resources competing for the best clothes.
Interesting. So it's natural. The point is that it's sort of, we already compete for things. We compete for resources, food, money, mates, things like that. So why should brands be any different? They could be just a commoditized element to kind of compete for. Good point as well. I think it's a bit both of those personally. The fan keeps going, doesn't it? It's strange. Yeah, that's what I would say. It is kind of human nature. I think it's basically partly related to our natural ability or almost incessant requirement to categorize. So we link things together. We like to find connections. We see that chair is sort of like that other chair I have. We find similarities and we categorize things. And I think branding is basically categorization, run amok. Categorize, categorize. I think that's what it's all about. Good or bad, pros or cons. I'm just curious, at a high level, good or bad, are brands good or bad? Raise your hand if you think brands are good. Good. Raise your hand if they're bad. Oh, everyone thinks they're good. Interesting. Wow. Most years I have a couple of people who say they're bad. Brands bad. This year everyone likes them. Interesting. Well, okay, we'll think more about that. Like I say, in the future we have lots of brand stuff. So the last thing that comes up in chapter 2 is this lovely table of the 7 R's. Dun, 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 dun. Research, rate, resource, retailing, reliability, reward, relationship. Brilliant stuff. It seems like it would be really juicy content for an exam, but I won't talk about them, and the exams will not talk about them because I think they're kind of rubbishy and piecemealy. But anyway, it's good to look at. It's kind of an interesting thing to read, get a sense of where it is, but once you've done that, just flush it down the toilet. And then the last step of this whole little cycle is, so you've done your market analysis, you understand sort of the trends, what's out there, technology, what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are, you as an individual, you as a company, you as your kind of team. Then you've segmented the market, there's these people and those people, and you understand there's different groups, and you decide what group you want to target. Then you come up with a product, let's say, or a brand, price, place, then the last thing is just to make it happen, to implement it. That's the final stage of a market strategy, let's say. And here's a little example of McDonald's ad that's kind of a cute one. They wanted to get more breakfast customers, and so they put up this little sundial sign. It's a little hard to tell. Oh, here, I can turn off the lights. That's better. So this is a giant metal bar sticking out that when the sun is right, projects down a nice M and tells you exactly what you should be eating at this moment. It's a bit early for a Cinnabon. Oh, no, a bit late for a Cinnabon. But not, those are all breakfast time, though. I wanted a quarter pounder somewhere. Anyway, so yeah, it's very useful. You know exactly what's by. It was actually an effective ad campaign, sort of reminding people of their needs, trying to help guide people, and it's a cute strategic implementation, right? So they know they've already done their little market analysis. They know that not enough people are coming to this. Oh, sorry, that's a quiz. Not enough people are coming to McDonald's to buy breakfast. So they do some segmentation. They realize these are the kind of people who don't even know when to eat or what to eat, and so they decide to do this. Something like that. That's the basic idea. Oh my God, customer-centric organization. I'm going to ignore that. But this is important. This is, again, a bit in chapter 2, some idea about if you want to have customers, you don't want just to have them be your customers, but you want them to be your friends and fans. And it's funny because when this book was written, it's now a bit out of date. It's 6 years old. Whew. I need a new book. But I've already taken all the slides, and it's too much work. But it's still a pretty good book. It's a classic, etc., etc. Anyway, but when this book was written, it's interesting because at that point they talked about converting people from customers to friends and even perhaps fans. But nowadays, of course, with social media and all that jazz, it's even much more important to try to convert people to become fans and to like and all that kind of stuff. And the benefits, there's all kinds of benefits. You know, people are customers. Some of the biggest ones are that they're price driven. So as soon as you raise the price a teeny bit on the thing that they were buying, they're very sensitive to that. They're price sensitive. They're not very elastic, and so they will run away. But if they instead, are your friends or repeat customers, then they're more value driven. That, well, yeah, it went up in price, but I still love that soap. It's so lovely and fluffy. And if these guys are fans, then they are experience driven. Oh, that soap is just like silk. I love it. Who cares? I'll pay twice it. I want that soap. Right? So that's the idea. You want to take people from being customers to being friends or repeat customers, all the way to being fans, to be evangelical about your firm products. Any questions? All right. Loyalty. Oh, no. Why not? Customer loyalty. You want loyal customers, of course. If people are loyal, they are less expensive to get, and they're far more effective at getting other people, lots of other benefits of having loyal customers. They will pay higher prices, higher margins. Again, if they love your products, they'd be willing to pay twice. And nowadays, of course, people are becoming more and more fickle with the internet. How does the internet change all these? That's the question at the bottom. Think about each of these and the question of how the internet changes them. There's a lot to think about there. I don't know if I'll say much about it. The only thing I'll say is something to think about and unpack a little bit. When you have an internet and a place where you can easily compare lots of different products, in a sense, all products become basic commodities, right? And so there's no differentiation. And that's one reason that brands have become so important, because brands are one way that brand owners, people who produce products, that's one way that they can pull themselves out of the commoditization game. So you want to make it that it's not apples to apples, but it's apples to oranges. So instead of, well, that apple is 50p per liter, and this apple is 80p per liter, so it's pretty clear you'll buy the 50p. But if there's a brand, it suddenly becomes apples and oranges. One of them is an apple for 50p a liter, and the other one is a rocket for 82p per gallon. Good example, right? It's clear. Anyway, so any questions about customer loyalty? Internet does change a lot of those things. It makes the psychology side of things more important. And it's led to this whole huge explosion in what's called kind of customer relationship management. There's lots of software out there, lots of books out there, even whole master's programs in CRM, as it's called, enterprise CRM, enterprise systems. And it's basically trying to use technology, computers, things like that, to capture all the data you have about people, individuals, kind of like Facebook and all that, but then to try to use that to actually quantify the value of a person. It's really quite lovely. You are worth 82 pounds. But they can do that because they have statistical analyses that show that you're the kind of person where they could sell this to you and that to you, and they could pass your information on to this company, and so they can actually quantify the lifetime value of someone. And it's kind of scary, but that's happening all the time, and it's one reason that you'll get the specific offers that you will get on Facebook. They know. So, for instance, in the Facebook stream, your happy little news stream, news feed that's there, they are putting, oh God, it gets so messy, but it looks like they are putting your friends' updates, posts, and all that, and they are, all that's good. And it looks like, well, they can't put everything. They have to choose, Steve and Marty and all these different people, they all have an update right now, so it just randomly picks, but it actually doesn't randomly pick. They use all these algorithms to decide what to put in your news feed because they know that that particular item in other people's news feeds have launched them to go off and search for a product. So actually, even your news feed stuff that you think is sort of random or just being fed in real time is actually being filtered through a lens of commoditization. So the news that you're getting in your news feed is actually being selected mainly because it'll nudge you, get you to think about, or kind of make you more likely to click on the, oh, I want to buy that weight loss program off to the right. So it's kind of scary. But anyway, happy times. And that leads to kind of the question of global marketing strategies. I think I may skip global marketing strategies. The basic point is pretty well explained in the book. It's just a question of, is there such a thing as a global market strategy? And it's pretty clear, I think, that certain marketing campaigns, messages, products, services, all that, will work better in some countries than in others. And because of that, you have to think about what could you do, or what could a company do to sell a product or service to you that they might do differently in a different country. It's an interesting challenge for big brands, as there are more and more, like we've said before, nowadays. You have to find something to kind of get back to that's basic and human. Here's another one of these kind of award-winning ads. This is a cute one because it's from a Bangkok Insurance, but it would work in pretty much any country. See what you think. Kind of cute. Works, no words, nothing really needed, and yet it helps sell insurance. So kind of a cute ad. It's a good ad to demonstrate the importance of kind of considering the target audience and the fact that certain things like driving a car, bad accidents, luck, humor, all these things are kind of basic human, I don't know, somehow basic. And there's no difference across cultures. Any kind of ad campaign that involves lots of words, famous people, all of that won't work on a global scale. So when you're thinking about global messaging, even when you're thinking about making your assignments for this class, so if you're trying to make something to sell Nightline, raise your hand if you know about Nightline. Probably more people. Yeah, ooh, well done. good service. It's out there. It exists. They could use more marketing, more awareness, even though many of you know about it. It's surprising how few people at the university know about it and use it. It's been around a long time. It needs some help right now. So that would be a good one. If you're looking for something to do your video selling assignment on, you could do it for Nightline. Make a little 30-second ad out there. If you're going to do that, this is just a side note for that assignment. If you're going to do that, be sure, no matter what you're doing, not just for Nightline, be sure you think about who you're targeting. So you should not be making a Nightline ad for the world, because the world doesn't care, right? So you should try to decide who exactly your ad is meant to target. Is it first-year students who are stressed from just coming to university? That could be a good audience to target. Is it people with depression or questions about clinical diagnoses? You know, maybe they're depressed, maybe they're suicidal, maybe schizophrenic, voices are coming out. Maybe it's those guys you want to talk about with a nice weird voiceover. Call the number. Or whoever it is, but stressed out business master students and they're on whatever. You need to think about a very specific target audience, not just for Nightline. Like I say, no matter what your video is going to be about, no matter what your Dragon's Den pitch is about for this class, and no matter what you're doing in the future, you should really try to think very specifically about who you're trying to speak to and make a message that will speak directly to them, or a message that speaks to basic human needs and that can be a bit broader. But be careful. On that assignment, it's easy to go awry and just to say, well, everyone loves a puppy. Nightline. And that won't work, okay? So it needs to target a specific audience. Any questions about that? No. All right. End of chapter 2. Phew. That was pretty fast, but I'm still going to be way behind. But on we go. So on we go to chapter 3. Now, chapter 3 is actually not that difficult, because it's really just an overview. So a big chunk of this book, like the next 5 chapters, are basically all about this horrible looking model, which is the model of decision making. So when you're making a decision of any kind, they've tried to kind of come up with this abstract model. And that actually, just as an aside, the people who wrote this book, Blackwell, Ingle, those guys, that's kind of what they're famous for. Their thing is this model of decision making, and it's kind of the backbone, if you will, of this book. And it's pretty good. It breaks down. The thing I like about it is you can actually look at this model. Now, also, just before I get too into it, let me just say this is kind of the model. In a sense, the way I like to think about it is just in these stages. So if you're going to come and buy a product, a service, you know, anything, you're going to have some kind of a need. You know, oh, I'm really thirsty. I need a drink. You'll search around for different alternatives, and that gets kind of interesting, right? Actually, I should mention, even for the need, it could be that you realize, oh, I'm thirsty, or it could be that you notice a vending machine with a nice, you know, drippy, watery, icy Coke there. So you could have lots of need issues, and some of what we'll talk about is how companies can trigger needs and activate needs. Once you have a need, oh, I could really use a drink, then you go around and search for alternatives, and that's actually kind of complicated as well, because maybe you search online, maybe you ask friends, you ask your parents, I don't know what, you search. Then you go out and evaluate the alternatives. Do I want a Coke or do I want this baking soda? Ooh, I don't know. And there's actually lots of different ways you can evaluate things and different scales. We'll talk about Lou Fishbine's model, lots of different stuff like that. All of that's kind of here. Then once you finally have decided which of the things you want, you know, yes, I do in fact want this Pepsi, then you have to decide to acquire it. And where do you acquire it? Do you do it online, internet, as an impulse purchase? Plan to do it on loan? Then you consume it. How, where, with whom, how much, at what time of day, in what season, all those issues will come up. You evaluate it. That was delicious, lovely vanilla Coke, or whatever it might be. And then you get rid of it. And so those, believe it or not, what I just said is basically all you need to know for the next 3 weeks. So you can just go and relax. We're going to go through each of those steps kind of over the next 4 or 5 lectures. We're going to be digging into each of those and talking about some of the details of it. So in part 1, we'll go through that overview like I just did, but in a little more detail. Then in part 2, we're going to start to look at the first few steps in that model. All right? That's what's about to happen. Yeah, we'll go through a bit before we take our break. So chapter 3, the consumer decision-making process or process, an introduction. So let's say you think about your choices in general. So some of us have small choices. What kind of toothpaste? What kind of soda? Should I use a pen or a pencil? You know, what should I do? Sometimes bigger. Digital camera, which one should I buy? Should I even buy one? Should I just buy a phone that has a digital camera in it? Do I want a DLSR, DSLR, Anyway, do I want one of those things? Or what kind of car? Even bigger. What kind of university? Oh my God. What kind of job? All these different things. So they're all decisions, though. And the interesting thing is there's quite a degree of similarity in all those different kinds of decisions. And that's kind of what this decision model is about. And basically, when you think about it, how does someone make a purchase decision? So let's say you're trying to decide where to vacation. Do you go to lovely Venice or do you go to Paris? Oh, that's a hard choice. So you have a desire, you basically want to go on a vacation, you find some options, one or the other, get some information about it, you read up on this, look at prices on that, look for friends, places to stay, you evaluate the pros and cons, you choose, and you just go for it. And that overall is all you need to know in a sense about decision making. That's kind of an outline of the whole thing again. And that's, like I said, what the model is meant to capture. You have a need, you search for alternatives, you evaluate the alternatives, you purchase it, acquire it, you consume it, you evaluate it after you've consumed it, and that's important for learning, memory, and stuff like that, and you get rid of it. All right? Woo. And that's how I'll summarize it, and I'll keep that little guy over here over the next couple of weeks so you can track where we are in it all. So the first thing we'll talk about is need. And basically the way the book defines, it's a pretty good way, is that a need is basically recognizing that there's a difference, a distinction, a difference between your current state and your ideal state, or the desired state and the actual state, or the here and now and the what might be. As soon as you see that there's a difference there, then you recognize that there's a need. Again, it's kind of an abstract way of thinking about it, but it's kind of cool because it highlights that there's a few different ways to create a need. Right? So you could either change the current state, or you could change the ideal state. A lot of advertising is about changing the ideal state. We'll see some of that. Whoa, oh, what's that? I don't know why I'm having these leak in as shadowy things, but need recognition. Consumers recognize their needs and seek to fulfill them or seek a product to solve their problems. And so yeah, if you know what people's needs are, that's always a good thing. It helps in your segmentation. Need-based segmentation is one of the nice ways to segment. Here's a little example. Dryel. Care for your dry cleaning only clothes right at home. I didn't read that well, but care for your dry clean only clothes right at home. That's better. That's the American way. Right at home. So yeah, this is kind of cool. They're like some kind of chemical sheets you throw in your dryer, and you throw your dry clean only clothes in there, and you hit go, and they're dry cleaned. Kind of a cool idea. The idea was that people had a need, right? That they have this need. Oh, dry clean, I don't really have time. The cleaners, it's a pain. People recognize this need. This company recognized this need, and they went for it. They developed this product. In theory, it should have been a good product. Sadly, it didn't quite go. Any thoughts why not? Yes, ma'am. Pardon? That's true. That is true. Yeah, you don't get them that often, and when you do, if you do, you may not trust this product with them. Yeah. I think that's the big part of it. Dry clean only is kind of a scary concept. I think it was that consumers didn't trust this to actually do the job. But it's kind of, I think it's a cool idea. If there were still dry clean only clothes, it would maybe work. If you had dry clean only clothes, would you use this product? Raise your hand. Oh, some would, but not many. Would you not use it with your? Oh, you wouldn't. Any thoughts? Why not? Don't trust it. Not worth it. Never clean, dry clean only anyway. I assume it just means it just air cleans. That's my position. Anyway. All right, so yeah, it didn't work that well. See what you think about this one. Oh, a con gold. This must be good. I don't remember what it is, but it must be good. Well, maybe not, but see what you think. Go!
Y aparte de todo esto de contar, ¿tenés alguna inquietud útil?
Estudia medicina, como
So kind of cute. Not really related to need recognition, but a little bit. I'm not sure what, but it's just a cute ad. Need recognition. What's that ad all about? Branding, enjoyment, involvement. Sadly, it's pretty fluffy. I love the ad. I always remember the ad as soon as it begins, but I'll never remember what product it's for. I've already forgotten. Anyone know what product it was for? It was some specific drink, right? It was a drink. Drink. Some kind of drink. I don't know what. Anyway, it's a good ad. Kind of cute. Again, it's one that appeals on sort of the basic human level. Everyone will see this ad. Everyone will remember this ad. Sadly, from my perspective, they kind of missed a good opportunity in that the brand doesn't get memorized. So they've done a nice, great example of a brilliant ad where they've done everything well. They have an emotional message. They have an engagement, involvement, hits all different demographics. So men, women, kids, adults, everyone loves that ad. Sadly, no one will ever remember what the brand is. Tragic. Anyway, so need recognition. Here we go again, need recognition. So this is now a piece of that model. So like I said, that horrible, scary-looking model, basically it is just these different stages, but they've added all the little bits around it. So need recognition partly will come from memory, right? So if you remember, oh, my goodness, it's late. Time for me to buy an iPad. That might happen. Or environmental factors, so things around you, all these different things will change how you recognize your needs, right? So if you're of a certain, alternative socio-demographic class who's into open source and things like that, you would never consider this a viable product. Ugh. Horrible. Platform. Fascist. Over-designed. But other people will love it. So all of those different things will make your need recognition very different. Oh, well, that was it for need recognition. Oh, no, I'm sorry. I know why. This is an overview of the model. Sorry. And then the second half of today is going to dig deeper into need recognition. Oh, good. Well, then I can go even faster. So search, again, this is just an overview. This isn't all you need to know. So when you're searching for information to decide on which of the numerous iPads you're going to buy, there's lots of different ways. In broad terms, it's going to be either an internal search. You'll think about, well, what did I buy last time? Or what do I remember my friends having? Or it'll be external search, and you'll ask friends, family, magazines, the marketplace. And generally, when we get to dig into this more deeply, you'll see that there's sort of either marketer-dominated sources of information or non-marketer-dominated. And those are going to be kind of important in terms of how much weight you give the information. So as we'll see later, when it comes time to actually finally evaluate, you're going to have to give weighting to the different bits of information. And partly that'll be modulated by whether it was a market-dominated or a non-market-dominated source. Yeah. I don't know what that means. External, internal search, they begin to process the stimuli. Well, there you go. Fact. On we go. Yeah, so when you search, when you recognize the need, in general, search, though, is looking out in the world for viable alternatives. And so that's where we'll sort of talk about things like exposure, attention, comprehension, acceptance, all those kinds of things. So as you're searching around, that's where perception is going to come into play, attention, sound, light, images, celebrities, all of those things will be part of sort of the search process. They'll pull your search process deeper into some particular local minima, if you will, or option or something. Boom! I don't know what that means. Oh yeah, and it's all moderated by emotion, right? So if you have an emotional reaction to anything, it'll change how your search happens. Same with need. Actually, emotion's going to play in most of these places. Like I said, this is just an overview, but we'll get into it later. And again, a lot of that will depend on what representations you have, right? So when you're searching around, if you have a particular image that you hate Pepsi, or you love Coke, or you love Coke, or you hate Pepsi, did I do it the same both times? Anyway, those representations of Coke and Pepsi will bias your search process. So they say. It's kind of a cute ad. Ooh, another Con Gold. Ooh! So these ads have become popular over the last 4 or 5 years. And basically, they take a photo of a space, and then they do something to the space, and they put it on a billboard. In this case, though, they actually built these little Lego displays. So this thing, as you're standing here, it looks like the street has become Legoized. Ooh, Legoized. Pretty cool, eh? Here's if it's a good ad. I'm kind of curious what you think. Good ad? Yeah, good ad. Bad ad? No. Ooh, universally good. Interesting. Any thoughts what makes it so good, this Lego-ness? Legless Lego-ness. I guess those are legs. Leggy-ness. Leggy-ness, Lego-ness. Why is it good? Any thoughts? Oh, yes, ma'am, yes. Yeah, it does indeed. It shows off the unique value proposition of Lego, that it's playful. Make a world out of Lego.
Also, like, one of actually, like, the kind of main, like, another kind of pocket, like, audience of Lego is kind
Oh.
Says it kind of captures
Yeah,
like, oh, I remember when I was a kid making Lego.
that's true. It plays on the nostalgia angle. People remember, when I was a kid, I used to make Lego monsters too. So I think it works quite well there. They have a lot of good ads that do clever things from a psychological perspective. Quite a machine. Were you going to say something, someone? Yeah? No? Anyone else? Lego? Good ad? Engagement? Novelty? Those are other things, by the way, that are worth thinking about this ad. So as you're walking by and you see this, of course, if you're actually walking or driving by, it'll be kind of weird because the world will take a double pause because it'll match for a second and call your vision, whoo, look down there, but then it'll break and your brain will say, oh, look over there. Anyway, you'll see from a vision, attention, perceptions angle, it's kind of engaging. It has depth to it, but it breaks expectations. Expectation breaking is a big attentional grabber. We'll talk about that later when we talk about attention. Things that break expectations are really good. They're also nice because of engagement. So when you see that ad as you're walking past, you'll probably stop and take a look and think, oh, what did they do here? What's this all about? So it does all kinds of clever things. No time for this. It's kind of an interesting question, though. So these are three kind of well-known ads, each from a different ad campaign. This one from a kind of unusual source. The question was, what are each of these ads trying to do? Something worth thinking about. I don't think we have time to dig into it right now. No time. Got to move on. But it's worth thinking about all the different things that ads try to do. Right? Well, I'll just say, so, this is trying to brand. It's trying to say Calvin Klein, we're about kind of something. Milk, we're about strong bones, supermen. And non-Marlboro, we're about stopping smoke. Aw, poor Marlboro horse. It's dead. It done died. Anyway, so yeah, there's lots of different things that ad campaigns can try to do. Many of them are just aimed at branding. Others are aimed at, this is, by the way, category advertising. So it's not for any particular brand. It's a great example where a whole bunch of individual brands got together, put together all their money into a big pot, and use that to get people to buy more of that category. Happens sometimes, but not often enough. Very successful campaign. And then, of course, demarketing, I think I mentioned before, is one of the hot areas in marketing, try to get people to not do stuff, change behavior stuff. So then after you've searched for alternatives, then you evaluate them. And there's lots of different ways you can evaluate. This is just meant to show that, usually after you evaluate things, you might end up with a single choice, or you might end up with a small cluster and have to evaluate again. But it's often quite difficult because there'll be different things that are coming into play. Like I said before, there'll be different weightings given to different products and to different sources. But after you evaluate, you then acquire, and that leads to all kinds of questions. So let's say you decide to buy a particular phone, you finally have chosen, that's the one I want. Then you have to decide, all right, do you want to do it in the internet or from a store? Do you want to buy it from the post? You have to decide which store now, do I want this one or that one, which item exactly, which configuration, which brand, which model, which option. So all of that is part of the acquire phase. It's also kind of part of these as well. It can often kick you back. So once you finally are ready to acquire, you might get kicked back. Oh my God, I just realized I needed an extended warranty or something. And you might go back to the beginning again. It's a big gate there, the acquire phase. Then you consume it, you eat your phone or whatever it is, you use the product or you use the service. Again, most of the examples I use are around products, but services are the hot area. That's where all the action is nowadays. 85% of profits in the last 10 years have come from the service industry. I think I made that number up, but it's something big and some fact like that. But it's a big growing area, and it's one that's quite interesting. Those of you who are in our enterprise by design, interdisciplinary, multidisciplinary design, we get together and we build products. We are also doing similar things. In fact, this last weekend we had a service jam where we got people together to help craft a new service, specifically the new Pontio shop. Pontio, raise your hand if you know about Pontio. Raise your hand if you know there's a Pontio shop coming soon. Oh, yay, Pontio shop. On the high street, right by the clock tower. Sort of designed this last weekend by a bunch of consumer psychologists. It's a bad lot. But anyway, and it's all around trying to identify the right services, the psychology of the users, the needs, how they go about acquiring stuff, evaluating, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, services are really important, and I'll try to bring up examples of services. But anyway, when you consume, it's all about using the product or service, and it's important to think about, is it now, is it later, is it with friends, is it not? And all of those kinds of things will influence, of course, your satisfaction. Here's an example of kind of a cute ad. This one is oddly, it's not, it kind of is about the brand, North Face, Northern Facial, as it's called sometimes. And this is an ad appealing to the consumption experience, right? So it's about the emotions in consumption, which is often, it's a powerful and effective form of advertising. Any ad aimed at experiences, experiential kind of motivation, that's far hotter. It's a good ad. Emotional appeals are good. If people buy a product based on their identified expectations for an experience, they're far more likely to be satisfied and far less likely to experience buyer's remorse. So if you buy a car because it's supposed to get 82 miles in the gallon and it's supposed to blah, 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 you are far 8 times more likely, I made that number up, but something more likely to be dissatisfied than if you bought it because you think it'll get you to grandma's house in style or you'll enjoy driving through the hills, etc. So more and more companies, sadly not enough, are coming to realize that, and their ads are starting to appeal more and more to the emotional experience that the product will give you and not to facts about the product. So, it's why not. It's not a great ad, but it's kind of cute. See what you think of this.
Working card. Nice. My son really needs that one for a set.
It's really hard to come by. Sorry.
Trade you for it.
What do you got?
What do you want? What do you need?
NHL hockey cards are not McDonald's. Stud.
Kind of freaky. I never liked that ad somehow. But it's cute. It's a cute ad, but it somehow always has to be images of someone in the back room of McDonald's shaving his beard and plastering on someone else's head. But anyway, it's kind of a cute ad. Again, it's not really about the consumption experience, about the emotional experience, about sort of a benefit you can get from coming to McDonald's. They've given up on trying to convince people that you'll enjoy the food. So now it's about all the other benefits that you'll get around the food. Kind of sad, but true. They don't do any consumption-based experiential appeals, do they? It's all brainwashing, classical conditioning. Good, we'll get to that later. So evaluate after you've then kind of consumed it, you then evaluate it, and that's a really important step, this post-consumption evaluation. Basically, you're either satisfied or dissatisfied, and a lot of it is based on your expectations, right? So if you paid only 85p for the screen cover, and yeah, it works, whatever, it's not a big deal if it works or doesn't work. It kind of has met your expectations. But if you spend 20 pounds on a screen cover and it works, it's like, well, yeah, it works, but I expected it to work. So a big part of this is about setting expectations correctly. If expectations are too high, you set yourself a far harder target to hit. It's another reason, by the way, that experiential claims are really effective. Because if I say that, oh, you'll love driving this car and it goes so smoothly, it doesn't give you any specific quantifiable values to evaluate against. All right, so, post-consumption based ads. Not really, but they're just kind of cute ads. Any good excuse for an ad. So these are kind of fun. I don't know what it's all about. The ads, I should say, it's often unclear, but this poster is the ad. It's not an experiential ad. They did not set this up on the streets of Liverpool to get people to think, ooh, that's cool. So they set this up once, took a photo, and that is the ad. Smart may have the brains, but stupid has the balls. Anyway, it's kind of cute. Something about branding and use and personality. Personality. If I buy this product, if I use, what is this? Oh, diesel. If I buy or use this brand, then I will be cool. Something about consumption, post-consumption evaluation, social status or status. Cognitive dissonance is one of the things that comes up at this evaluative phase. So, you question, oh, did I really make the right choice when I bought that Pepsi? Ooh. And usually the higher the price, or higher the price in the broadest sense of price. So higher time you've spent, higher money you've spent, higher kind of social visibility of the product, then it's more likely that you'll have this kind of cognitive dissonance. All right, better move on. Divestment, then you just get rid of it. Woo! Dispose, remarket, resell. Giveaway, hot area. Wrexham, in Wrexham, there's a new little shop/stall, something in Wrexham. You can go there, and it just says free. Take whatever you want, leave whatever you can. And you can just come and, there'll be a phone. Oh, that's cool. Just go home with it. It's all literally free. Kind of cool. Good or bad? Raise your hand. Good idea? Bad idea? Ooh. Any thoughts why it might be good or bad? I don't know either. Oh, yes, sir.
It's not an idea, but there's also an online version of
Oh, yeah.
it's called Free Cycle.
Free Cycle and Freegal. Yeah.
Just email the whole stuff you want to give away, like what's it, giving away, and then you can also email the things that you want.
Yeah, yeah. Free Cycle. Raise your hand if you know about Free Cycle. Yay, Free Cycle. Freegal. It's another one they have around here. Good stuff. You can give stuff away. Shops now are doing it too. It's a good thing. Reuse, reduce, reuse, recycle, something, restrain. That's a cool addition. So consider these questions now and at home. How might organizations or even you use this model? For instance, for your assignment that you have to do, or for your next job, or for your next internship, or whatever it is you want to do. How can you use this model to help you do that voodoo that you do so well? Lots of different ways. Think about the needs of your consumers, whether you're trying to make a product or you're trying to sell yourself, not in the weird, dodgy way, but in the kind of trying to get a job way. Think about that. How will they search for information? So if you do make this mythical video to sell Nightline or to sell, oh God, every year we have so many good ones. We have a lot of stop smoking, selling the American football mud dogs. Is that what they are, mud dogs? Isn't it? There's a here, yeah, mud dogs. I don't know. Anyway, whatever you're making, how will people go about recognizing the need for a mud dog? How will they search for their mud dog options? Where will they search, right? So maybe you want to put it on YouTube. Maybe you want to put it on, I don't know, Facebook, MySpace, something, I don't know. Is there something else? Anyway, so all that stuff. Think about that model. It really can help inform whatever decision you're trying to make. So we saw the whole model, but, oh yeah, so that's the overall model. Need, search, evaluate, purchase, consume, post-purchase, divest. But all the paths and the steps and the side loops, all that kind of stuff, they'll all be influenced by lots of different things. Some of those things are going to be individual differences. Like for me, I'm horrible at making decisions, so I bypass some of the things and flip coins. I don't know. Other things will be influenced by environmental factors. So if you're under a lot of time pressure, like you're running in a shop to buy something, lots of nice studies out there showing that your processes that you go through change entirely. If you're under time pressure, if you're under money pressure, of course, lots of different kinds of pressures can influence which of those paths you go down and how much time you spend on them, all that kind of stuff. Ba-ba-da! Oh, so here's some examples of individual differences. So different demographics, psychographics, values, personality, all those kinds of different factors about an individual. So where you grew up, social status, your friends, all that kind of stuff. All of that will affect the model and how much you use. Also your resources, so if you have a lot of time, if you have a lot of money, if you have a lot of minions, all that kind of stuff, those will affect it. Your motivation, sometimes you just don't care, can't be bothered. Knowledge and learning influence it quite heavily. So if you know a lot about an area, you might actually spend a long time or might not spend any time. Attitudes, all that kind of stuff. All of those will influence which aspects of that consumer decision model you actually dig down and crawl through. I don't know what this is meant to be, but more things about that. Situational factors, it's such a lovely ad. It's a little dodgy, so if you're against nudity and stuff, don't look. But anyway, we'll see. It's a cute ad, though. Situational factor appeal.
Alors là, c'est le salon. La salle de bain, la cuisine, et ça, c'est notre machine à laver.
Very cute little ad. Situational factors, doing a lot for the brand as well, right? So not only is it small enough that in that situational fit, but it's also powerful enough that it can wash all the clothing of all those people. So kind of a cute double-edged ad. And then, oh my God, we still have a lot to cover before the break. I thought I was about to get my biscuits, but no luck. We carry on. We'll 5 more minutes, then we'll have a quick break. So given the difference between trying to buy books and buy a car, pretty big range of decisions there, right? And you could actually think about how this model, how you might dig through more and more of these stages and spend more and more time at different stages, depending on what your purchase is. So if you're buying a Mars bar, you probably don't go through all of these detailed things and compare and shop around and call. Versus if you're buying a car, a university degree, a master's program, a job, those kinds of things, you probably go through all of these and more. I don't know what that means, but in general, though, you can break it down into different kinds of purchasing patterns, which we'll talk a bit about. So essentially, there it is. Da, 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 da. So you could talk about extended problem solving, where you have very complex, high degree of complexity, high degree of time required, high degree of involvement. So buying a car, a house, finding a spouse or a mouse, any of those things, any ouses, those are all extended problem solving. You go through all the stages of the model. You ask friends, you do extensive information search, etc. Mid-range, somewhere in the middle, and limited, pretty low. So you're not really involved in a complex decision. You're not going to spend a lot of time. You're not going to feel very involved with your purchase. So involvement partly means how much involvement you have in the choice, but it's more about how involved you feel with the product. Yeah. And then, boom, 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 you could even talk about, that's all for an initial purchase. So when you make your initial purchase, there's kind of extended, mid, and limited. But if you've bought it before, if it's a repeat purchase, then you could just have sort of another option, which is habitual. You know, I always buy the bag of crisps. I always buy the same crisps. I always buy Walker's crisps, whatever it is. That's habitual problem solving. It's kind of ultra low in terms of complexity, time, involvement. And then, problem, extended, expensive, important, all seven stages. If you're unhappy, you're unhappy. Mother always warns me. One of the classic extended problem solving adverts. Mother warned that there would be men like you driving cars like that. Do you really think you can get me with that long, low, tough machine you just rolled up in? Ha! Anyway, I don't know what this is all about. But it's trying to bias people to make the right choice. So it's kind of interesting when you look at different categories of purchases, the ads that play in each of those different categories will make appeals based on what they know about how people make their decisions, right? So they know here that people, mother always warned me, but then over here they finish up the ad with all the kind of specific details. Frankly, I'm just attracted to you because you have a very intelligent face. My name's Julia. I don't know what that means. It's a weird ad. I put this one here because it's kind of a cute ad and a weird ad. It doesn't really make much sense in a sense. But anyway, for car adverts, if you look broadly, they do a lot of branding. They do a lot of kind of try to influence with, sex and other things around the edges, but they always will come back to miles per gallon, APR, discount rate, manufacturer, warranty, all those kinds of things. So they always will try to get in there the bits of factual data that they know you're going to require for your extended problem solving. And then initial purchase, blah, blah, mid-range. Most decisions are kind of mid-range. And then repeat purchases are pretty brief. And the final one is sort of impulse buying, spur of the moment. And that's kind of typically very, very limited, ultra low. Often engaged into fight low mood states. So when you're depressed, you tend to make more impulse purchases. And we'll go through much of that. Factors in, so what determines whether you're going to be involved a lot or a little? Part of it is sort of how personally important it is, how much time and how much mood you have. Oh my goodness. Oh, this is kind of cool. All right, I'm going through this a little quickly because a lot of it is pretty intuitive. You could also look at the slides. I just want to talk about this one thing because I think it's kind of cool. Implementation intentions. Raise your hand if you know about implementation intentions. No one. Oh, shocking. I didn't know about it until I bumped into this anyway. It's kind of cool. It's a prior if-then plan. So it sounds kind of silly, but if it's time for James's lecture, then I will read my end of chapter summary to be ready for the little mini quiz that might happen. I was going to have one today, but I don't think I have time. Anyway, if then. And just simply by making an if-then statement to yourself, you're more likely to actually do it. It's kind of cool. So here's a cute little study. The patients were asked, some of them were said, okay, here's some medicine. Try to take it. They said, yes, I will try to take it. Try to take it lunchtime. Yeah, I'll try to take it. Versus some were told, I want you to think that if it's 1 p.m. and I'm sitting down to lunch, then I will take my pill. So having this if-then construction somehow makes your brain, your noodle, more likely to obey. It has like a little rote program. If you have an if-then implementation intention, you're much more likely to actually carry through. So in fact, in this example, so if you had the if-then version, everything else was controlled, blah, blah, blah. If you had the if-then, excuse me, 80% of the time, or 80% of the people, 80% of the time, actually took the medicine when they should. If you just didn't, then about half the time you did. So pretty big effect, actually. Life or death, big. So why does it work? No one really knows. Attention, maybe, automaticity. It's somehow we're hardwired to follow our little own if-thens. In the consumer domain, there's been some cool studies. Excuse me. So some of them are where they had people try to do things and not get distracted by TV ads. And they had half the people think, okay, as soon as I see a TV advert, I'll ignore them. Others, as soon as I see a TV advert, I will work harder. And others, I will try not to be distracted by the advert. So A and B are both sort of if-thens, right? If I see a TV advert, then I will ignore it. Should have really been done as an if-then. But back then, in '98, they didn't know better. If I see a TV advert, I will work harder, or I will try not to be distracted. And so what they found is that both A and B, the implementation intentions, are far better than C. And A is also better than B. So somehow actively ignoring is having a specific activity that you're going to do is better than a vague intent. Kind of cool. How might you use this in your life? While shopping, while studying for a test? Think about that. Not that it'll be on the test, but it might be a handy little hint. Try that out sometime on yourself. If then, try to link it to something specific, both as the trigger and as the response. So if it is 8 p.m., then I'll spend 15 minutes reading my consumer book. Or whatever. Try to come up with some if-then, and it should help. Product use is kind of cool. Consumer domain, they've done a lot of stuff with this. Recently, they gave people cleaning products, a kind of a bleachy thing, and were told to take it home, give it a go. And for one group, they were asked to specify where, when, and what they might use this magical, mystical, all-in-one cleaning product for. So I'd say, well, you know, I could use it for cleaning my stove, or I could use it for cleaning the toilet or the floors. And the other group was just told, you know, do you think you're likely to use it or not? And kind of the cool thing is people group A, the implementation intention, again, it wasn't quite a pure implementation intention, but again, it was sort of a specificity of use. They used the product twice as often. Woo! That's a lot of product. And in fact, they used 3 times more of the products. Wow, they were slathering it all over themselves. They used it for everything. And they even liked the product more. So somehow having these implementation, and more likely to buy it after the test phase was over. So it's kind of a cool example from the consumer domain where it's this simple implementation intention is enough to totally bias your decision-making process. So you go through this, you know, need recognition, blah, 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 all this whole process, but simply having this other if-then statement is enough to bypass a lot of that, or is maybe enough to highlight certain phases of that, right? So the need recognition, maybe having the implementation intention will make you realize, oh, I do need to clean the floor. So it could be that it's triggering implementation. The implementation intentions are triggering need recognition or something. Eeks! Implementations are powerful stuffs. Break time. Dear God, it's break time. So it says there'll be a quiz after the break, but I'm just too tired for a quiz, frankly. So there won't be special biscuits. I've had a request to try to find some vegan biscuits. And I have had no luck. You'll be sad to know, for anyone who cares about it, they're now updated. The bourbon creams now contains milk. So someone had passed on the hint that these were vegan, but no more. But I do have some weird biscuits that might be. Anyway, there are biscuits. Let's break just for 8 minutes. 8-minute break. 8 minutes. Go! Something boring. Anyway, I finally sorted it out. You'll be happy to know. Any questions come up at the break? Any requests for other kinds of biscuits? Should I be bringing fruit and nuts instead? I often get complaints that I'm adding to the obesity epidemic of this country. Apologies. Yes, fruit and nuts? All right, I'll start bringing some nuts and fruit. I'll see what I can do. If you have other requests, you know, take a poll, market research, segment the audience, and let me know what other people want out there. Pizza. I don't know if I can afford pizza, but I'll see what I can do. All right, chapter 4. Pre-purchase processes. Pre-purchase processes. Pre-purchase processes. Pre-purchase processes. Need recognition, search, and evaluation. We won't get to evaluation. I don't even think we're going to get through need recognition, but we might. Like I said before, need recognition is basically a difference between your actual state and your desired state. Where I am now and where I want to be, what I have now and what I want to have, all of that. And mainly, the amount of need recognition will depend on the discrepancy between your current state and your desired state, right? So from a psychological perspective, this is kind of exciting because, you know, yes, I have an iPhone 5, but there's an iPhone 5S. And if you can make that discrepancy seem massive, then you're set. So yes, you have lots of other job applicants who are here for this role of whatever it is, but you know, I may seem like a small difference, but I have a training in consumer psychology, so I know how the mind works. I can synthesize information. I understand segmentation, whatever it is. Yeah, so you need to find a way to highlight the discrepancy, the difference between the desired and the actual. Yeah? Cool. And here's a little model. Bing. Desired state comes in. Actual state comes in. Oh my God, they're different. Sometimes that difference will be below threshold. Wait, are they really different? You won't notice, and there'll be no need recognition. Oh. Sometimes the degree of discrepancy will be at or above the threshold, and you'll have a need recognition triggered. Oh, there's a difference. And that's the deep model. Now here is a little graph from the book. So if this is time, and your actual state is all fine, your desired state is not really any different, if you can have a need recognition occur here if you change the desired state, right? So at least two ways to create a need. You could either change the desired state. You could say, boop, oh, you know, isn't this a lovely television set? Doesn't that look great? Oh yes, I want a 3D HD TV. So you've then changed my desired state, even though maybe you haven't done anything else. Or it could be that changing my actual state, so everything's going along fine, you know, that's not a big problem, but then suddenly my TV breaks down, and you break into my house and blow up my TV or something. That is another way to create a need, right? So you could change my current state or change my ideal desired state. Sounds silly, but it's quite important because there's options around both of those. So lots of opportunities for need recognition phase. So one of the things this book does is it talks about each of these different steps, and then it talks about, well, how can you use that to sell more crap? Which is not the best way of thinking about things, but it's interesting. So how can you do it? Well, one thing that's important is, again, you should always be thinking about segmentation. So maybe there'll be some segment out there with some unsatisfied desire, and that's a good opportunity. So you could find some new product, some new segment, some new barrier that others have not been able to cross, like some technology might solve something, some way to use social media to get your message out to a new segment, things like that. Lots of different ways that you can trigger need recognition, or that you can kind of create new desired needs. Change their desired state with new products or innovations. That's one way of doing it, right? So you can either destroy their TVs, or you can create innovative products that make people lust after them, such as the Apple iPod. Unfortunately, every year I hate Apple more and more, the more ads I have to show of theirs, but they're pretty good examples, sadly. So, you know, this wasn't something that actually changed my current state, it just changed my desired state. Oh, I would love to have music in my pocket, or I would love to have video, or whatever it is, access to friends, family, easy to use, etc., etc. So none of, in many cases, new innovative products, newly designed products, are designed in such a way to create a change in the desired state of people. Yeah, it's not about, it could be about making them recognize a need, or it could be about creating a need. Oh, this is a cute one. It's a cute little ad. See what you think of this one. Again, nowadays it's less relevant, but still a good ad.
What's going on? We know how many burgers we have in stock. We know where our totes are, and no one knows where Mac is. 6,000 burgers? That's our night boys and I go by you. In the airport.
It's kind of a cute ad for need recognition, right? So it's not saying that your current state is sucky. That's the technical term. Instead, it's saying, look at all these needs that you could have. These unmet needs. This is your desired state. This is what you want to have. You want to know where Mackler is, and we can help you get there. So that's about kind of creating a desire, making people have a need, recognize they have a need by creating a desire. It's a lovely ad with pretty music. It doesn't really do much of anything. See what you think, though. The internet is now mobile. All right, I finally got, I think, my volume up. Can people hear me better now, or is it no different? No different. The sound is screwed up in this room. It's full blast on everything. Anyway, yeah, so it's an unusual ad. I think pretty ad, beautiful production value, lovely music, pretty film, nice editing. I even downloaded a high-res copy of it, so it's good. All is good. The sad thing about it is it should be trying to highlight need recognition. It should be making you realize when it came out, which was again 5 or 6 years ago, it was difficult to have the internet in the palm of your hand. And that should have been their message. It shouldn't have been bits of the clock falling from the sky. It doesn't quite highlight the need that we have. I mean, it kind of is about time, but time isn't really what the internet is about either. It's more about convenience, access, connectivity. So it kind of misses on a lot of different fronts. It's a great opportunity where they really should have highlighted need recognition. Gosh, I wish I could have the internet in my hand. Then I wouldn't get hit by these watch parts or whatever it is. But they didn't have that, and it's unfortunate because it's a great opportunity to do something. They were actually addressing a real need. They were changing making you realize that you were lacking something, and yet they didn't do anything with it. Fools! Any thoughts on that ad? Anything else about it? Lovely little music. Catchy. It'll be stuck in your head later. I don't know what this is all about. Unclear. It was just...
Here's money with gold at an all-time high. Now's the time to send your unwanted gold for cash, like these gold cufflinks.
I can get cash for this gold medallion.
This gold microphone, my gold record, my gold golf club, my gold sledgehammer, baby. Boom. My gold giraffe, my gold paint, my gold hip replacement. We melting gold, baby.
Cash, the number 4, gold.com.
Goodbye, old man.
Do you have unwanted, broken, or mismatched jewelry? Turn it into cold, hard cash fast.
If you're selling, cash for gold is buying.
We own our own refinery, so we can cut out the middleman, putting more money into your pocket. Fill the envelope and mail it to our secure processing center. And get ready to count your cash.
I'm not only a cash for gold spokesman, I'm a client.
Go to cash, the number 4, gold.com, or call 1-877-GOLD-590 today.
Well, there you go. Cash. Unwanted gold sitting around? It's very odd. I don't think that's a big problem most people have. Extra gold sitting around. So it's kind of an odd thing. I mean, it's not bad. You know, the need, I guess, is more on the cash side of things, but it's unusual that they sort of have spun it and pitched it, perhaps cleverly and creatively, as the need being to get rid of all this extra gold you have around. I mean, I guess that's part of the joke, maybe, but it's unusual. It's kind of, in that sense, it was a good ad in that it made people notice it because it was aberrant. I'm going to ignore that one. How companies can do it? Well, like I said before, they can either create new products and innovations that have people, that create a desire for a difference, or they can change how people perceive their current state. So you don't necessarily have to go in and blow up my TV and destroy it. You could just make me start to question my current state. Is it really good enough? Do I need a bigger TV? Again, that's kind of creating a desire. It kind of can play both sides at the same time. It can be making people desire something different and at the same time devalue what they currently have. Nice little psychological game there. You can also remind consumers of a need. That's a big area of advertising, is reminding consumers of a need. And you can actually talk about different kinds of need recognition reminders. So this is a generic need recognition, right? So this company, in this case, this conglomeration, this group of companies, all the milk people out there, they're trying to make everyone in the world recognize the fact that they need more milk. So it's broadly trying to grow the size of the market, forgetting about segmentation. And it's, again, like I said before, it's only when you get enough companies together with a big pot of money that you can do that without caring about segmentation. Far more effective tends to be ad campaigns that aim at selective need recognition. So this one is aiming at people with diabetes. Is that what this is? Diabetes, yeah. So if you have one of these, a little diabetes bracelet, then you might want to get Colgate Total, something you won't die. Blah, 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 death, etc., number crunching. So yeah, in this case, it's much more targeted, aimed at a selective need recognition. It's this group of people, this particular segment, that has a need for this product. So it's selective need recognition. That was it for needs. Yay, needs. So then we go on to search. Well, I'm doing pretty well. Search. So then you go out and, once you recognize you have a need for toothpaste, for getting rid of your gold, for a new television, whatever it is, you then go out and gather information and try to find possible answers, ways to address this need. And you might go to, advertisement, magazines, internet, friends and family, all these different options of sources that you could go to get information. You need the information. You search around. In general, you could do internal or external. So internal search is just kind of memory, wisdom. Oh, I know in general, I don't know, something. I have no wisdom, so I don't know what to do. But internal sources are memory, wisdom, long-term memory, short-term memory. Often we do start off with a search through our internal resources. There have been studies that suggest we tend to first look internally, then externally. External, like I said, is lots of different things, and those can be broken down into sort of market-dominated or non-market dominated. And when you do basically, this is the model that the book talks about. You start with a need recognition. You first do your internal search, and maybe you'll look in your existing knowledge, but you'll then kind of wonder about, am I sure about that? Am I satisfied with my prior purchases? Do I trust my sources of past experience? Was I on drugs when I last consumed it? Is it good? Am I done? And if you think, yes, it has been, then you'll go ahead. Well, that's good enough. I'll buy that bottle of wine, or I'll buy that car, or whatever it is. If you decide no, then you'll go out to the external search. So first you go through internal, you question the sources, you question the validity, and then you decide whether to carry on externally or internally, pardon me. And then external search involves collecting information from out there in the environment. Boop, 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 boop. And in general, there are two different kinds of searchers. So some people just go out and are constantly ongoing searchers. So for me, I'm always looking for random stuff. ADHD, looking around, oh, what's this, what's that? Just ongoing constant search. More often, normal humans, people who have a rational sense, they go out and they have to make a purchase, so they go out and search for information. Now, everyone, in some sense, undertakes ongoing search in domains they're interested in. So if you're really passionate about shoes, or if you're really passionate about cars, you may be out kind of always doing ongoing search for rough information about that world. Technology is the classic, movies, games, things like that. People will tend to go in ongoing search in some area of interest, but pre-purchase search is kind of more relevant for what we're talking about here. Ongoing search, by the way, will tend to feed into your internal resources so that you won't have to go to external search. Yeah, so if you're always into cameras or whatever it is, and you're always engaged in ongoing search, then you'll have lots of internal resources. So when it comes time to search for info, you can go to your internal before external. Does that make sense? Yeah. Woo! So, what to search? What to search? Where should you go? And it's, those alternatives that you gather information about during the period. Yes, that's true. You search around for different things. That's your external search set. You're searching different information sources, and you put together usually a set of viable options that you're then going to evaluate. That's kind of the goal of this search, is to put together either a choice or a range of choices. Depending on how broad that range is, or depending on your confidence in that range of choices, you might then go back to more search, or you might just evaluate them. So it's going to be one of these 3 phones, let me evaluate them. Or it might be, oh, these are 8 different phones, I better search for more information so I get it down to 2 phones. And then you can, like I said before, talk about sort of market-dominated or non-market-dominated sources of information. So some of them are things like personal information or impersonal. There's lots of different ways of slicing up information sources. Some of them are rational, some of them are emotional, some of them are market-dominated, some of them are non, some of them are personal, impersonal, all these different things. This is another one from the book, Table 4.1. Man, we're already on chapter 4. How many pages? Does anyone have a book? What page are we talking about today? This is a lot of pages in this book, isn't it? Anyway, anyone know? Handy? Maybe you guys don't care. My only point being, read or skim or screed or read. Yeah, well, try to read. Read the book. They go, it's probably, what are we on, page 220? No. 113? Man, that's a lot of pages. Or is it not? Does it seem like a lot of pages? Raise your hand if it seems like a lot of pages. It's only a week, 113 pages. It takes me months to read that much. Anyway, try to read or skim or something. So the table, for one, says that you can have personal or impersonal information sources, and they can be in-store or out-of-store. So, personal out-of-store would be family and friends, coworkers, experts, things like that. Impersonal out-of-store would be advertising catalog. Anyway, in general, which sources are most trustworthy and why? It's kind of an interesting question. Depends who's asking. Depends what category. So, if you're trying to buy a savings bond or some kind of financial tool, some sort of investment, you just inherited all this extra gold you have to get rid of, you may not want to ask your friends and family what to do with it. Maybe your family, parents, uncle, great aunts, things like that. Maybe coworkers, I don't know. Maybe you don't necessarily trust their knowledge, experience, expertise, wisdom in that domain. So sometimes you actually might want to go to trust sales personnel. So the book kind of talks about it as if it's like, in general you want personal out of store because they're the most trustworthy. But I think it kind of depends on what category, particular purchase you're buying. Right, so if you're trying to buy a high-tech digital laser etching 3D scanner, you probably wouldn't want to go ask your great aunt about that. Maybe not a coworker. Anyway, so it depends what category you're looking at. Where to search. Opinion leaders and influentials, those are pretty important as well. So some consumers out there are sort of respected for their expertise in a category. So I have lots of students come and ask me about where should they go and study consumer psychology or where they want to go into advertising. And I guess in that sense, I'm sort of an opinion leader and influential. But it depends on which product category. So no one ever asked me about shoes or anything like that. But it depends, particular categories, particular types of purchase, particular kinds of needs that have been recognized, you'll have different sources that you'll go to. Cute ad, one of the Honda ads. I'm not going to show it. It's available. I'll put it on the web. In Blackboard, I do have a folder for ads we've seen in class or ads we've not seen in class, things like that. Anyway, I put some of these up there. So this is kind of interesting. This is in terms of search. Of course, nowadays when you're searching, a lot of that tends to be internet-based. We love our little internets to search for things. But it gets kind of interesting if you look at where people search for information. So yes, very much is blue. Search all the time. People are always searching for travel information up on the internet thing. Not at all, never. Very few people actually are getting advice on which drugs to take on the internet. Surprising or not, I don't know. Personal care, food, beverage. It's kind of interesting to think about it. I guess the question would be why these particular things? What is it about these categories that make people less likely to search on the internet? Any thoughts on that? One thought? Half a thought? 3 thoughts? No thoughts? Anyone? No one? No one. Oh yes, a thought. That's a good point. Yeah, some of them are very time limited, time based. So food, it's only when you're hungry. You probably wouldn't take the time to look on the internet. Although now with the mobile internet and bits of clocks falling, you might spend more time looking for food on the internet when you're out and about. But you're right. Also, it's a lot of it at the top. They tend to be things that are sort of more commoditized and more complicated and yet commoditized. So travel trip to Disney or something, you can kind of compare a bit apples to apples a little bit, and it gets kind of complicated. So some kind of complicated decisions or very simple decisions tend to be up here. Ones that tend to require probably an expert or habitual purchase are down there, maybe. It's an interesting list. I have a feeling it's changed a bit as well. This is probably 6 years out of date now. I'd be curious to see what the latest list is. If anyone finds it, let me know. Oh, before I forget, it's not relevant to 90% of you, but if you're doing Enterprise by Design, we are having a meeting Wednesday at the Greek at 8 p.m. If you're not doing it and you want to come along and have a beer and chat about product design, come along as well. Wednesday at the Greek, is that right? Wednesday at the Greek at 8. Yes, 8. Yeah, internet. So how much do people search? So in a sense, you could spend forever searching, trying to get just the best deal until finally you give up because the models are all outdated. That's what always happens to me. I've never successfully bought something on the internet because I spent hours searching and finally give up. But anyway, there's a cost benefit here. So if you spend, the benefit of spending a lot of time searching, whether on the internet or in real life, is that you're probably going to make a better decision. The cost, of course, is that there is time effort associated with the searching. So usually there's a trade-off. There's some kind of cute things in terms of knowledge in search. So this is how much knowledge a consumer has. So if they have very little knowledge, I know nothing about cameras, but I want to buy one. Or if I know everything about cameras and I want to buy one, in general, and this is how much time I spend in external search. So if I don't know anything about cameras, I'll go on the web and I'll just buy the first one that I see. Oh, that's a camera, I'll buy that. If I know tons, I will not even bother going to the web, actually. I just know exactly which Canon I want. It's the EOS 408R, but only the one with this serial number, right? And in general, people who have moderate levels of knowledge will end up spending the most time looking. Any questions about that? Knowledge-time trade-off. Kind of cute. Ooh, the over-choice effect. This is kind of cool. So nowadays, in this modern life of ours, the number of options is always increasing, right? So there's amazing numbers. Do I have examples here? No, well, I think somewhere I will in a second. So the good of that is we like variety. We like customization. As consumers, we want to have a say. We want to have our perfect choice of clothing, shoes, jam, travel, whatever it is. So that's good. And the good thing is that we can find a perfect fit, right? So if we have, for instance, let's say we want to go out and buy some jeans. We want some Levi's. We want some Levi's. Right now you can actually go and find over 2,000 varieties of Levi's original branded jeans out there. So they have them by gender. You can get men, women, child, by waist and length, and all these different sizes, by the leg kind, by the fit kind, it goes on and on. It's amazing. But if you go and look on the website, like I did once to put this together, you want lunch, it's incredible. I think there were, at that point, and again, this is like 2 years ago when I did this research, there were over 2,500 different kinds of jeans you could get just on the Levi's website alone. Kind of scary. And yeah, we like that. That's a good thing, right? We can get the perfect jeans. That's what I want right there. Purpley, bluey, stand up, 1 foot up kind of look. It's weird. It looks so different up there from down here. Down here it looks really cool now. But yeah, that's a nice thing, right, in general. But the problem is, of course, there are some problems there because it means that someone like me, I will never choose because I'll always think, well, there must be one of these other 2,498 jeans out there that are even better than this one. So that's one of the dangers of having too many choices, that you're never certain that the choice you've made is the right choice. So that's called the over-choice effect. Make a note of that. Sounds important. It's a thing. That's a thing, right? Over-choice effect. Oh yeah, Younger and Leaper have looked into that. Oh yeah, they did some nice studies with jams. And it's kind of cute. They had people trying out jams in a supermarket. Here's a bunch of jams. Would you like to try? And they either had like sort of 4 or 5, 6 jams. Here's 6 kinds of jams. Would you like to try? And there's strawberry, and there's vanilla seed, and there's cardamom. I'm making up things. And if they do that, 12% of people will actually then go, ooh, that's lovely, and go buy it. Versus if they say, oh, here, look at all these jams. We have 24 different varieties. Would you like to try one? The exact same thing. The only difference being that instead of having 6 jams on the table, there's 24 to choose from. There's strawberry, raspberry, strawberry, all these different things. If there are too many, only 2% of people will buy. Kind of sad. People get confused, overwhelmed. They can't compare. They don't know what to do. And it's kind of, in a sense, it's kind of, if you look at the article, part of it is that it's apples versus oranges. People don't know that that's my favorite. They don't, well, there's 24. I tried 6 of them now. I give up. I don't know which one of those to buy. So I think that's part of the problem. It's kind of an interesting thing. People have looked at it some more, and it has to sort of do with aligning the attributes. So if you want to have sort of sweet jams and savory jams, just doing that on your 24, if you split them into, we have 12 that are kind of sweeter and 12 that are kind of savorier. That will help. Giving people any kind of dimension on which they can kind of make some kind of choices or some kind of segmentation will help. So how can people benefit? How can companies benefit from understanding search? So you could start to think about adjusting the breadth of options and the depth of options. So if you have too many choices, people will be stuck. And if you don't have enough choices, they'll be stuck as well. Price is another one that, of course, is going to play into that. We only have 3 minutes. All right, how am I doing? Slide 30. How many slides do I have here? Does anyone know? One more. Really? Oh, that would be amazing. How can companies benefit from understanding search? They can, well, of course, nowadays with the internet, with that thing, the internet, there's all these services out there. So Google Analytics on its own will tell you how people are searching. They've come to your website because they've searched for porcupine orange or whatever it is. And so if you know that, you understand that that's what they're searching for, you can talk up your porcupine oranges or whatever it might be. There's companies out there. One of our past master's students used to work for Google and then set up her own Search Scientist. If you're interested in this kind of stuff, check them out, Search Scientist. They have all kinds of white papers and knowledge stuff about how people search, why they search, how to better market to the search. Her specialty is sort of Google image search. So if you're searching for images of binoculars, she can help companies. Anyway, she does all kinds of fancy stuff, but it's all about understanding how people search. Search analytics is a huge area nowadays, and as part of the consumer decision process, it's an important bit to understand. One more slide, you were right. Wow, nice job. Is that true? Oh, okay, there we go. So, recap of today. I'm shocked. I'm actually on time. So, we talked at the beginning, well, at the very beginning, we talked about the end of what we talked about last time with marketing strategy and branding and the ad for Nike. Then after we finished all that market strategy kinds of stuff, we got into the overall overview of the consumer decision process model and the different stages: need, search, evaluate, acquire, consume, evaluate, divest. We then talked more deeply about need recognition, about sensing the difference between your ideal and the current and desired, or as things are and as they could be. That's what triggers a need, and we talked about how you could change those kinds of things. And then we talked a bit about search and how you go out to search. There's trade-offs between having too many things to choose, different channels to search through, etc. So next week is going to be more. It's going to be a little bit more about search because we didn't talk about sort of the end of search, establishing your final search set, and then about evaluating. And I guess that's it. Oh my God, we're on time. We're even, at 6 o'clock. Time is up. Thank you very much. Sorry there was no quiz. Next time we'll have lots of quizzing. How